that you can support the podcast is by purchasing or picking up our limited edition apparel. The shirt that I have on right now is one of the only shirts that we brought back for a second time. Normally we'll never do that, but the only reason we brought this one back for a second time is it sold out within 6 hours. So we brought this one back. We also got a second one that we just dropped. It's our, I guess, just Halloween edition shirt. Go to elitefts.com or go to the link in the description. This really does help us out because this directly supports the Table Talk podcast. Thank you guys. Enjoy the show.
This is Shane Haller. We're here at Elite FTS, and today I'm just going to be going over a couple tips and tricks that I use with the deadlift. And these are things that I just kind of really focus on while I'm deadlifting that I think really kind of help enable my pull to be pretty decent here. So starting off, we're just going to go over some conventional stuff. For me, I like to kind of keep my stance pretty nice and tight. Obviously, there's some bigger guys that, it's harder for them to get down to the bar. So, obviously your stance is kind of, going to be based on your own personal preference. But for me, I like to keep everything nice and tight here. And then I pull with a hook grip, which means I'm going to be, pulling with both my hands over, and the weight's really going to be kind of sitting in my hands here. So not going to be that over under grip, which I think this allows me to get a little more range of motion. And, in 4 or 5 years of pulling this way, I've never dropped a deadlift. So if you're able to really figure out your hook grip and set it and you can deal with the pain of it, then this would really be a grip that I would recommend. So for me, I'm going to come on down here, bend on down at the knees, keep everything kind of nice and tight up top here. I'm going to get my grip just a little bit outside of the knurling, nice and tight. And then when I set my hook grip, what I want to try and focus on is bringing this thumb as close to my pinky as I can. So I'm not going to get there, but that's like the idea you want to really kind of cue in your head. So if you can try and bring your thumb as far across as you can. So from here, I'm going to get my hook grip set. So I'm going to set that thumb first. Like I said, it's going to be going diagonally across the bar. And then I'm going to lay my hands over the top. When I do set that grip, my thumb is going to be typically, let's see here, it's going to be under this ring finger right here. So when I'm holding it, I'm going to be right here. This index finger and this pinky are really going to be kind of hanging out, but the grip is primarily going to be set here, and my pinky is going to be kind of just chilling on the outside. So once I get everything set here, I'm going to feel it out a couple times. Like I said, just kind of making sure everything feels good. This is something that you definitely do not want to rush. If you rush it, you're going to be prone to either drop the bar, you could tear your thumb. Both things would not be ideal. So you definitely want to try and take your time down here. Get your hook grip set the way you want to. And then once everything feels nice and locked in, you're going to watch my hand position from here to here. I like to use the cue knuckles down. So that way when I'm going to take the slack of the bar, you see how my hands are going to roll that way anyway? This way, I get it nice and tight here. And then when I'm set, I'm already getting my hands locked in. The idea for me is I want to be as stretched out as possible. So reducing that range of motion. The less distance I have to travel, the better. The more weight you're going to have in there, you're going to want to move as little as possible. So for me, I'm getting this hand set here. My knuckles are down. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bunch of tension in my upper back and take the slack out of the bar at the same time. Good cue for this would be covering your armpits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be locked in. I'm going to try and have a big chest and retract here. So what this is going to do is going to lock everything into my back. Going to keep my back from rounding over. Maybe if you shoot from the side here, it might be a little bit easier to see. So once I get set here, I'm going to be nice and tight, try and keep my back as flat as possible. I'm then going to retract those shoulder blades, like I said, using the cue, covering my armpits here, and it kind of pulls everything down. You can see the bar pulls up off the ground here. When the weight gets heavy, I'm not going to be able to pull all that weight up, but what I will do is I will slack the bar. And with a deadlift bar, you're going to get some give to it. So if I can pull the bar even that much further up, it's that less further that I have to travel. The bar is going to be nice and tight at that point. If I don't pull that slack out of the bar, you can get what's called whip. of the bar. So if I go to yank the bar and everything's not tight, I'm going to pull in one direction, but the bar is not tight. So it's going to kind of create some instability where it could pull me forward, knock me out of position here. So I want to try and keep everything as tight as possible as I'm getting set for this pull. So I'm going to be coming in here. I'm going to get nice and tight here. I'm going to retract these shoulder blades, slack that bar. You can feel, as soon as I do this, instant tension in my hamstrings, my glutes, a little bit in my lower back, but you don't want to focus as much on that, like I said, because then you're going to be putting more pressure in that back. I want to drive with my legs here. So I'm going to be coming in. I'm set. Take that tension, retract those shoulder blades, cover the armpits here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rock back just a little bit on my heels to kind of create that tension here. And as I do that, I'm going to lift my chest and I'm going to look up. That's going to kind of take my back from this position here to a little bit more upright. So from here, I'm locked in, slacked out. I'm going to rock back a little bit, look up, and go. So again, in a full speed, I'm going to be here, slacked out, just a little bit of, I wouldn't even necessarily say rocking back. The pressure is going to be going into my midfoot. So I don't want to have my pressure on my toes, everything falling forward. So if I have pressure here on the front of my feet, as I pull, I'm going to pitch forward. I'm going to lose my position. I'm not going to get that lift. I'm going to fall forward. So I want to create as much pressure backwards as I can to really wedge under that bar and drive up here. So again, coming in here, I'm set, slacked out, put that pressure in that midfoot, chest up, full speed. One more time. And as I'm coming up here, a good cue to lock everything out, squeezing these glutes here. I want to try and get everything as tight as possible as I'm coming up with the bar. So when I come up here, nice and locked out, but this is also going to keep my knees from being soft in this position here. A soft knee is going to be a no lift. It's going to make it much harder to lock out. So if you can focus on just keeping everything nice and tight up through the top, squeezing those quads, those hamstrings, staying nice and tall, you get that lift.